Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our very first community webinar in Howzit United Kingdom, part of the Howzit Expats family. So we have a lot lined up this evening. Thank you for joining. If you are watching from the comfort of your home, this is being recorded for you to watch later on, should you wish. So big welcome. We're very excited tonight. We have a big team here, and hopefully you find it interesting and of value. So just by way of introduction, my name is Lamont Kritzinger. I'm the founder of Howzit Expats. In my capacity in Howzit Expats, I'm a financial coach. Just a caveat at the bottom of the screen there, our webinars are recorded so that we can replay them for our members. And also, we do not give advice in Howzit Expats, and on these webinars, we provide factual information to South African expats. So we normally start our webinars. We've already launched in Ireland a couple of weeks ago. In fact, we've had 2 of these webinars in Ireland already. We always start with a lucky draw and an attendance prize. And we have fantastic prizes. In fact, if you look down on the right there, we have memberships, we have discounts on memberships, we have advertising packages, we have mystery prizes from some of our sponsors and our partners. I'll share those in a second. And how it works simply is we have a spinning wheel called the Shosholoza wheel, and there are 8 segments. And if you land on one of those, that's the prize that you get. So in terms of deciding who wins the prize, actually, maybe just to show you the mystery prizes quickly. So for our first webinar in the United Kingdom, we have 4 sponsored prizes. So just to take you through those very quickly, we have an online life coaching session, an hour session by Colleen Quist, who's actually one of our speakers tonight. Colleen's a life coach in South Africa. And then we have a SARS tax immigration complimentary from SA UK Tax from Andy Fraser and his team. And then we have an Ebdon Eats voucher from Ebdon Eats, £50. If you don't mind just going on mute, there's a little bit of background noise. And then we have some keyrings courtesy of Howzit United Kingdom. All right, so some great prizes up for grabs. Those are available tonight. So how it works is you need to type fingers on the button. You need to type in the chat. So you can say Howzit to each other in the chat. Just say where you are from and who you are. But to find out who will be in the draw tonight, we only have space for 8 people, maximum of 8 people. So you've got to type as fast as you can, and I'll go over to the next slide so you can see the words, and it will go in order. So whoever types first will be number 1 on the wheel, and then number 2 on the wheel, etc. All right, so if you're ready, 1, 2, 3. Biltong asseblief is the password for the chat. So while you're typing that, Biltong asseblief, I'll move ahead. Tracy's going to take stock of those, and we'll have that for later at the end in the draw. All right, this is our first webinar in the United Kingdom, and I thought I'll just share a couple of slides and just a few moments just to tell you about Howzit Expats. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail, which is our tagline. And where do the ostriches come from? So just a quick story from my side, just so that we fill everybody in. We won't do this again in any of the other webinars, only in this one. So the ostriches come from, unfortunately, they carry this myth around with them that they bury their heads in the sand. Ostriches, they don't really. It looks like it sometimes when they're running from behind. But it's a saying that goes very well with actually financial planning and finances generally in the finance world, you know, not taking action and doing anything. So that's where that comes from. And then also very much of a sort of a Howzit face. I think ostriches, you know, they look at you and how's it? So a little bit of that. And then, of course, Howzit, as a lot of you would know, South Africans on this call, is an informal greeting. Hello. But a little bit deeper meaning there, actually, how are you doing? How is it going? Are you okay? And very intentionally chosen that word for our name. And then if you look at the ostriches, in fact, when I was doing the search for a logo, I was at about number 750. Some AI package gave me logo options to wade through. The only one with ostriches was this one. And I looked at it, I thought, this is quite striking. Why? I'll tell you a few things that caught my eye. This is a family. They're all together. They're all pointing in the same direction. They seem to be aligned. If ostriches could smile, it looks like they're almost smiling. They're content. They're quite happy. All right. So this is a happy family sort of all aligned in the same direction. And a quick story on Facebook. I've never been on Facebook, but about a year ago, I wanted to do a survey in Ireland, where I live, and I wanted to see what South Africans think about their planning when they moved to Ireland. Did they take precautions? Did they plan, etc., etc.? And you can see the results on the right there. 35% didn't really take note of their pension and retirement annuities, and last will and testament, 40% in tax. But why I put the story up here was that the administrator of this Facebook site actually wouldn't let me in. And he said I was a fraud. And I asked my wife, why is he saying I'm a fraud? And she said it's probably because you've got 16 friends on Facebook. So I quickly accepted all my friends, said to the chap I wasn't a fraud. You can call me, I actually do exist. And I did the survey. But then I started just having a closer look at what's happening in Facebook. What do people do in Facebook? I had no idea really. And what are these groups in Ireland of South Africans doing on Facebook? What are they talking about? So you can see a group bottom left here. Welcome to South Africans in Ireland, about 11,700. And I found a lot of comments that looked like this one. Am I the only one who feels sad and depressed sometimes when I think of home? I've only been here for a month, came here alone for work. It feels lonely sometimes. Some days are worse than others. And I went back in years. In fact, that's 2022, you can see. It garnered 96 comments and 93 emojis. And if you go back year by year, in many groups, you see similar comments. And I was wondering what can be done, what is being done. Why are people posting this to anonymous people that they don't know on Facebook as well? And they obviously want some support. And that's where Howzit Expats came from. And that's the story behind the ostriches, an aligned group of family, all facing in the same direction. Expats going somewhere off into the distance, happy and content, and after we've asked how they're doing. So the vision of Howzit Expats, quite simply, is to be the go-to platform, the go-to website for South Africans who leave South Africa and who go and work and live anywhere else in the world. The focus is on the phases of the expat journey. So phase one being a wannabe expat, somebody thinking about going. Secondly, an expat who's already there. And then thirdly, somebody may be coming home or going somewhere else. And we cover all of those in our website in terms of what you need to start thinking about. The focus is on well-being and thriving. We want expats to thrive. There's a big spotlight on financial well-being. And as I said, it's country agnostic. So in summary, my little quote there, I'd like expats all over the world, not only to survive in the new communities, but I'd like them to thrive. And that's what we want to try and help with in Howzit Expats. So just a quick view of, there's a website, you can go and have a look at that. That's sort of what it looks like. You can see at the top there, focus on the expat journey, well-being, business directory. We've got listings of companies. We've got membership. I'll talk about that. Events and webinars we focus on a lot, like the one tonight. And we have thought leadership, quite a lot on financial well-being and the different things, life assurance, budgeting, tax, health, legal, some tips around moving, what to watch out for. And then the phases that I mentioned, want to be expat, what to think about when you are thinking about moving overseas. And once you are an expat, phase two, what you should be thinking about and preparing for. And then lastly, changing direction, we call it, if you go back home or if you go somewhere else. All right, we have a membership community in all our countries. So United Kingdom, you are the second country after Ireland. I won't go through the detail there, but there are quite a lot of benefits to becoming a member of the community. It's very simple to join. It's just online, and it gives you free access to all our webinars. It gives you complimentary sessions with a financial coach. You can ask the experts questions. You can vote for webinar topics. You get a quarterly newsletter and a whole lot more. So, all right, if we look at the countries in terms of where South Africans are, in fact, UK, very recently I saw a report to say the most South African expats are actually in the United Kingdom. So this is the biggest community around the world of South African expats. And if you have a look at the website, Howzit United Kingdom, you'll see all the tools and the feedback and resources for the UK expats is in that website. So just a little bit of a glimpse around there. Big focus in this website. You'll see our tagline has changed there at the top left, building stronger communities. So in every country, really, the focus is to build a stronger community. And I've just put this picture up very purposefully in terms of this teacup with the ostriches in the middle, the flag in the ear of the cup, and embraced with the tagline, building stronger community. So, as South Africans, we are in the ear of the holder there, and the flag, really, the country. We are a visitor in the United Kingdom if we are an expat in the United Kingdom. And the idea is that we have a strong community in South Africa as expats in the UK, as well as then with the folk in the United Kingdom. So it's not a case of nationalism and just trying to be South Africans all on our own in a corner in a country. In fact, quite the opposite. So this is actually the actual slide from our Facebook's, from our website rather. This is South Africans in Bristol. That's what the website looks like. Big focus on the next webinars. So we'll change that date tomorrow to the 17th of September, which is the next one in the United Kingdom. I'll just quickly flip through these. There you can see that's where you'll find the Howzit Quarterly, our newsletter. The first one will be coming out in Q3 of this year, just a little bit later towards the end of the quarter. And then we also have My Money Movies, which is financial education movies for kids. This is the essence of our country website. So in the UK, we focus on businesses, what we can help businesses with, events and webinars, how we can pull the communities together, and actually just finding the communities. Currently, you would find communities in different Facebook sites. The vision here is to have them all represented in one website in the United Kingdom. So somebody new, they arrive in London tomorrow, they can actually go and have a look at Howzit United Kingdom and see where is everything happening around South African folk in the UK. Where are all the communities? Who are all the businesses involved? That's the strategy. In fact, just recently we launched very nice packages. If you'd like to be an advertiser on our websites, on our global website, howzitexpats.com, or any country, Ireland, UK, you're welcome. We actually have a free package for bronze. We call it bronze advertisers. You can just list your name and a little description. And if you want links to your websites or be on the homepage, etc., you can go up to silver, gold, and platinum. And it's from as little as €8 a month. In fact, you can have a really nice advert on our websites. All right, focus on community, as I said already. Communities could be Facebook sites, they could be a LinkedIn group, could be Instagram, WhatsApp groups, very popular these days. Instagram, you can actually list a community. So if you have a community that's not in our Facebook, in our website already, then please come along to this page and just list your community. We will put it up. We want all of them there, in fact. And there's a map. You can see these are the ones listed already. There are a couple just north of Wakefield. There's some in Peterborough, and they're all over the UK. But it won't be complete yet. We've just started. Events and webinars, very important for us. Here you can see just a snapshot of the events and webinars page on the right. They're also in our directory, so you can see them in terms of a map. And here you can see what's coming up and what's just been. Springboks versus Australia just happened. We won't talk too much about that. And then New Zealand, South Africa breakfast on the 6th of September. Let's hope we do better there. And a big braai in Bristol happening on the 27th of September. So the idea here, a lot of these things are posted in Facebook sites around the UK at the moment. We'd like to put them in here so that we can have everything in one place for the first time, in fact. And that's some of the benefits to becoming a member of the Howzit Expats United Kingdom community. All right, so enough of that. I know a lot of information there. I just wanted to share a little bit of context. Where does Howzit Expats come from? What's the purpose? What's the intention? And what are we doing? All right, so on to tonight's webinar. So this is called a community webinar. We have a community webinar monthly in every community. They're 60 minutes long. They're at a standard time, more or less a standard week and day. We have diverse speakers. One of the big value adds is diversity in speakers. You'll actually see that tonight, and in the future you'll see that as well. Specifically from, I just need to change that flag there. It should be the UK and the South African flag, but I'm from Ireland, so I can probably put the Irish flag up there. There'll always be 2 financial well-being topics. And there'll always be 3 anchor topics, which I'll show you in a second. And then we'll have what we call partner news in our 60-second slot. So you'll hear from either event organizers or businesses, and they'll tell us in 60 seconds with a countdown clock behind them what they are all about and how we can support them. So the financial well-being topics tonight for the first one on the left there and this normally gives people a chill down their spine when they see the word SARS, South African Revenue Service, our favorite friend. That's around SA tax residency. I'm going to do that session tonight, just a very high level overview of tax residency. We will probably have quite a few sessions on tax in the UK community, much more detailed, much more specialized going forward. And then the second well-being, financial well-being topic is on wills, the last will and testament. So just to say, just practically speaking, you'll see Ask the Expert on the bottom left there. Once we announce our topics for our webinars, as a member, you're most welcome to come onto the website. And on this page, Ask the Expert, put your name, surname, and actually ask whatever question you have on that topic. I see a lot of questions posted in Facebook sites, whether it's in the UK or Ireland or anywhere else in the world. Now, this is the opportunity for you as a South African expat in the UK to ask the experts on your question. So you don't have to go to a Facebook site and ask technical questions. Come here and you will get the answers. We will make sure these questions go through to the speakers before, and it will be answered in the session. That's the value to you as a member. So please do make use of that. We're also going to be inviting thought leaders to our webinars, people talking on different subjects and topics who find themselves as consider themselves to be industry experts. So you can look forward to that. If you'd like to be a thought leader yourself in your industry, please approach us. We've got packages on that as well. You can be you can post a podcast, an article, you can be in our newsletter, you can talk in these webinars, you can have a 60-second slot. So quite a lot of options available. These are our three anchor tenants. I call them triple T, top tax tips. All right, short slots. These are 4-5 minute slots. So focus on tax again, always a bugbear moving overseas. And then very important in the middle, a session called Rerooting, which is on wellness. And Colleen Quist is going to share some information on that every month. And those are very popular and very informative as well. And then we have also a very important session called Ubuntu, which simply means embracing the new culture that we find ourselves in. So as South Africans in the UK, we need to understand where we're now living if we are in the UK. What is different? How do we fit in? What do we do? How do we become integrated into society? And that's where we'd like to hear from the UK folk themselves, whether it's Scotland, Wales, whatever. So this is the standard agenda, all right, that we'll have every month. Financial well-being topic number 1 at the top, about 15 minutes. Tonight it's going to be a bit shorter because we've got this intro. It'll just be a couple of minutes. And then we'll have the top tax tips. Then we'll have a 60-second ad, then financial well-being topic 2, and then the rerouting session, another little 60-second ad, and then the Ubuntu session. And then sometimes we'll play out with a My Money movie. All right, you can come and go as you please in these sessions. You know, not all topics are of interest to everybody all the time. So if you do see, if you're a member of the community, if you see something that's interesting, you can just pop in at that time. These are the potential topics for the next webinar in the UK. The next webinar is the 17th of September. If you go onto the website today, you can actually vote for your favorite topic. Those that receive, the 2 topics that receive the most votes are the topics we will do and present. We will find speakers on those. So again, you're very, very much in control of what we offer and what we provide in these webinars. That's where you can go and vote. That's actually practically what it looks like. You just press the button, put your name in, and it comes through to us at the back end. Okay, so tonight's agenda. Let's get cracking and started with that. There's lots of speakers lined up behind me, and I don't want to take the microphone all evening. So I am going to start with financial well-being topic number 1, and we'll try and just keep this light. It is a tax topic. So it's all around your tax residency status. And the question being posed here is, why is this crucial for every expat, South African expat, to know what his or her tax residency status is and what it should be, whether they've been living in the UK for 1, 5, or 15 years. We put that there very specifically because sometimes people have been in the UK or in Ireland or anywhere else for a long time, and they think this is long forgotten. It's not so. So I've got one colorful slide only on this. We're going to start with the green block at the top, and we're going to move around clockwise quickly, and I'm going to just share a couple of snippets for you. So the first thing in the green block there, you'll see it says confusing terminology. Now, one of the things around tax is it can be incredibly complicated and very confusing. And I've attended many webinars myself on the subject of tax immigration. And I myself get very confused when I listen to different speakers, different companies. Sometimes they say things that seem to be contradictory, or they make it a little bit more complex than maybe it could be or should be. So, it could be quite a minefield. And these are some of the terms that one can hear: tax immigration, financial immigration, ceasing residency, expat tax exemptions, double taxation agreements, and there's many more. And some of those, very colloquially, if you'd listen to them, like ceasing residency, in layman's terms, ceasing residency feels like you don't live there anymore. That's what actually ceasing residency is. But yeah, we're talking ceasing tax residency. So sometimes words are not mentioned, but they're intended to mean that. And this can be very, very confusing. All right, we'll touch on some of that very briefly. Just to say, the focus really these days now is on tax immigration. There have been some legal changes the last couple of years. In fact, I moved to Ireland in 2019, and after that, the process changed from financial immigration, which was sort of a South African Reserve Bank, more exchange control focused process, to what it now is a tax immigration process through SARS, the revenue service. All right, so these things change and you've got to keep up with them. So there's a little red heart there just to say SARS loves all of us very, very much, especially when we leave South Africa. They love us even more, keep sending us love letters if we haven't done what we were meant to do. And the reason for that is we are taxed as South African tax residents on our worldwide income. So wherever you earn income in the world, if you're a tax resident in South Africa, SARS wants their bite of the cherry. So my question to you is, do you know whether you are still a South African tax resident or not? Whether you've been in the UK or anywhere else for 1, 5, or 15 years. In the blue block, there's this thing called expat tax exemption, which also has a history of its own. But in a nutshell, this is a provision that sort of enables South Africans to be able to work overseas and get an exemption up to a certain amount, 1.25 million. There is a formula based on how many days you've actually been overseas. But if you are a salaried earner, this doesn't apply to sole proprietors or independent contractors. It's just salary. If you're a salary earner and you're overseas more than 183 days in a year, of at least of which 60 are consecutive, then you can potentially qualify for a tax exemption on that foreign income up to 1.25 million in a year. Okay, so you might hear that sometimes. And then the brown block on the top right there, we just talk about South African tax residents. Why does it matter whether we are a tax resident in South Africa or a non-tax resident in South Africa? Well, in the brown and the blue box, or the blue circles on the right, rather, I've just put a couple of implications. So if you're a tax resident, top right, in South Africa, as I said earlier, you're taxed on your worldwide income. Your worldwide income, which includes annuity income. Estate duty, if you were to pass away, includes global assets. Okay, if you've got assets, any of you got a house in Spain, the estate duty, etc., would be in South Africa. Donations tax, they look at all donations taking place globally. SARS wants a slice of that if you're a South African tax resident. Capital gains tax needs to be paid to SARS on global gains. And you've got to do tax returns every year. A lot of South Africans don't do tax returns anymore when they just move overseas. They think they don't have to do that anymore because they're not earning any more income in South Africa. That's not true if they're still a South African tax resident. So in the blue block, if you become a South African non-tax resident, and there's a process to go through for that, a couple of different processes actually, a few different options, it depends, but then the implications are quite different. Then you are only taxed, SARS can only tax you on South African sourced income that is sourced in South Africa. There's a definition called bums in seats. They look at where you are sitting when you're working. There are also estate duty, donations tax, capital gains tax implications. If you're a non-tax resident, all right, from a SARS perspective, and there's no tax return that you need to fill in if you've only got foreign income, if there's no other income in South Africa. Very important, and this is a hot topic for expats in terms of pensions. In fact, last night we had our second webinar on Ireland. We spoke a lot about pensions. We had 2 sessions on pensions. There's this 3-year lock-in rule. since about 2020, that you now need to wait before you can access retirement annuities and pension funds, occupational pension funds. You can't just leave and get that like you used to a couple of years ago. All right, in the blue block, in the yellow circle there, not to go through the detail there, but there are different processes to cease your tax residency. Okay, there are specialists that do this around the world, actually. South Africans all over are doing these processes. And there's sometimes exit tax payable, which is like the value of your estate the day before you left. They look at your deemed capital gains tax on the market value of certain things, included foreign fixed property, shares, unit trust, cryptos, Krugerrands, and things that are excluded. They don't take into account your properties in South Africa because you're going to pay capital gains tax on that anyway. Cash, personal use assets, etc., etc. These applications can be approved or declined. It goes to SARS. It's up to them. In conclusion, I've got two little Facebook comments here in these blocks. Listen to this one. Somebody asked, this is about 4 days ago. We moved to the UK from South Africa nearly 6 years ago. I didn't inform SARS that I was leaving. I've incurred penalties. What happens if I ignore the situation? I've no pension assets in the country and I don't intend to return. Somebody else quipped. People love to comment on these things. Also been here nearly 6 years and ignored my tax situation in South Africa for all that time. About 4 months ago, I got a letter from my old tax advisors that SARS are clamping down. So I bit the bullet and I got compliant. It's not that hard. I ended up catching up every tax submission, getting audited, passing that, getting registered as a non-tax resident in South Africa and cashing in my RA so I could settle the debt and the fines. Going to South Africa in December for holiday, no worries, huge weight off my shoulders, just get it done. All right, that doesn't mean every person should get it done in that way. Everybody's situation is different and they're different processes. So I'll stop there. I just wanted to share a very high level view of tax residency and it's really, really important that you talk to the right people. All right, so on to our next topic, which is our first anchor tenant. And I'd like to welcome Andy Fraser. Andy Fraser is living in the UK, originally from Zimbabwe, I think, and then a bit South Africa, and but now in the UK. He can tell us about himself. But he's a chartered accountant, a tax advisor, and he's going to be doing our Triple T Top Tax Tips slots. And he runs a company called UK Tax. Over to you, Andy.
Thank you, Lamont. That was quite a good explanation of tax immigration. A couple of things I don't entirely agree with you on, but I'm probably a lot more technical than you are.
Excellent.
Yeah, because we spend our lives doing that kind of stuff. Yeah, my background, left Zimbabwe just after the national service, did my university in Pietermaritzburg, did my articles with Deloitte in Durban, moved to the big spoke to get rich and famous. Neither happened, so ended up running a small, almost a lifestyle accounting practice there. Built very good client base and that became very digital very quickly, thanks to the collapse of the SA postal system. Everyone was quite happy to go digital, which facilitated my move to the UK. And based on that set up practice in the UK, I still have my South African practice running. That's a traditional accounting practice, much the same thing here in the UK. And then to bridge all of that, I set up a business called SA UK Tax. Because what I discovered very quickly is that there's not many people that know tax on both sides of the water. And a lot of the advice that you get is very wrong. And the longer I'm in this business, the more I understand that the advice that a lot of professionals are giving is wrong. Lamont mentioned he hates Facebook. I hate Facebook too. I'm not quite as averse to it as him. I do go on every now and then, largely into the expats sites. And honestly, some of the advice I see in there, I want to get a gun out and shoot those people. Because it's shocking what people are saying, and I think what's more shocking is people are believing them. So yeah, I don't get it. If you want to know about tax, probably one of the most complicated subjects in the world, which is more than doubled when you're doing it in South Africa and the UK at the same time, there's no chance you're going to get any successful advice out of Facebook. Oh, sorry, not no chance. Maybe a 1% chance you're going to get successful advice out of Facebook. Anyway, enough of that. Let's have a very quick chat about tax in the UK. Lamont had quite a good chat on residence. It's much easier to not be a tax resident in South Africa than it is to not be a tax resident in the UK. UK has some very complicated rules. So once you get here, the first 3 months is still a little bit debatable. After that, the debate gets weaker and weaker. And once you've been here 6 months, you are a tax resident, whether you like it or not. Like South Africa, HMRC taxes on worldwide income. And we have innumerable conversations where people turn around and say, but I paid my tax in South Africa, why do I need to pay it in the UK? Well, the reason is because UK taxes on worldwide income exactly the same as South Africa does. To manage all of that, there's a double taxation agreement in place, which essentially just decides who's going to take the money out of your wallet. And sometimes it's only HMRC, sometimes it's only SARS, and sometimes it's kind of split between the two. And there's a gazillion variations of how that hangs together. So it's not quite as simple as reading the DTA. There's a lot of interpretation that goes around that. So yeah, the first thing you really need to be conscious of is that you have to include your worldwide income. The next thing, getting here, the first thing that you need to do really is to get your national insurance number, because your whole UK life tends to revolve around that national insurance number. If you are in the UK just as an employee, you don't need to register for tax. That will all be managed by your employer through the HMRC PAYE system, which is about the only tax system in the HMRC that really works well. Actually, that's quite good too. But the PAYE system works exceptionally well because that's where the bulk of their money comes from. So they've made sure that that one works. Unfortunately, for most South Africans, we tend to have income still coming out of South Africa, either rental properties or interest or dividends. And as soon as you have more than £300 worth of that, you have to report it to HMRC, which means you need to formally apply to them for a tax number. Now, again, I've had a lot of conversations with people where I say, are you tax registered? And they say, I think so, because they've got a national insurance number. If you've got a national insurance number, it doesn't necessarily, well, it definitely doesn't mean you have a tax number. It's a separate application, obviously very easy to do. But it's not an automatic thing. Okay, what else did I want to talk about? Tax immigration. Lamont touched on fairly, yeah, did a good coverage of it. Well done, Lamont. When I first saw that, I thought, okay, this is going to be interesting, given what I've heard over the last couple of years. But yeah, you did a good job. The other thing that we get a lot of questions on are pensions. And, you know, it becomes, once you've tax immigrated, you can get your pensions and RAs out. Your RAs you can get out 100%, not just the normal third commutation. But it comes with a lot of implications from a UK perspective. The double taxation agreement between South Africa and the UK gives the taxing rights of South African pensions 100% to HMRC. So it's quite a process to actually get that balanced and eventually get your money back from SARS, to the point where SARS don't really have a system to deal with it. So the process takes about 8 to 10 months to get your SARS money back again. But there is a process and you need to follow it, because otherwise you just literally are going to be double taxed. I've had extensive fights with HMRC and they're not interested. They say, we have the taxing right and we are going to tax it. And that's it. They do allow you to use the UK pension withdrawal rules, which does give you a bit of a benefit. In fact, 25% of your capital is not taxable when you pull it out, but the rest is very taxable. Unlike in South Africa, they don't have a standard set of tables, which makes it a little bit cheaper. when you leave well, certainly if you're a high earner, if you leave a pension fund in South Africa, in the UK, the money just gets added on top of whatever your other earnings are. So it can push you up into the higher brackets fairly quickly. So definitely something that you need to keep an eye on. Property income, also very important. Fixed property around the world is always taxed in the country in which the property is situated. So if you have properties in South Africa, they're first taxed there, and then they're taxed here. Also important to know, in the UK, they don't use the same kind of rules as we did in South Africa. South Africa, specifically around mortgage bond interest. South Africa, you're allowed to deduct the mortgage bond interest as part of the expenses. In the UK, you are not allowed to do that. All they do is they take 20% of whatever that number is and give it to you as, they call it here a tax credit. In South Africa, we call it a tax rebate. So essentially what they're doing is they are restricting the interest deduction to what is common for basic rate taxpayers, 20%. If you're a 40 or 45% taxpayer, you just lose out. And the problem, of course, is that income gets added on top of all your other income. So where you didn't pay any tax in South Africa because you were under the threshold or whatever, you very often get smashed here in the UK. So it can often come as quite a nasty surprise. The last thing I think I want to touch on, because I'm really running out of time, is HMRC. Well, a lot of the tax authorities around the world, 120 of them, in fact, in 2014 got together and put together a thing called the Common Reporting Standards through the OECD. That came into effect in 2018. Effectively, what it does is it allows all the tax authorities to share information amongst each other. Not much has happened until last year. And that's when I really started seeing things coming out. More in the UK than South Africa, but this year I've seen South Africa starting to do it as well. And essentially what HMRC are doing is they're sending you a lovely little letter that says, we think you might have some income somewhere else that you didn't tell us about. We are giving you the opportunity to correct that. Please let us know by filling in this form. And you fill in the form and you send it off. What they're saying is, actually, we do know, and you better get hold of us and you better fix it. Otherwise, we're going to come at you with a big stick. And we're seeing a lot more of that. In terms of that, HMRC can go back 12 years. If they consider it to be fraudulent, they can go back 20 years. So the normal 4 and 6 year rules that normally apply in HMRC don't apply for offshore income. That's 12 years. So if you've been here 14 years and never declared anything, but you had your rental incomes going on in South Africa, HMRC are coming at you. Right, Lamont, I think I used my 5 minutes.
Excellent. Andy, thank you. That's very interesting. Certainly for me, not living in the UK as well. These would be very insightful sessions, and I think people already living in the UK who don't know much about tax as likewise. So look forward to the next month's session. Excellent. We have our first 60-second slot up from Ebdon Eats. There's the logo, lovely color there. We have Michelle Ebdon, so we've just got a few of her photographs here and her website here. If you're not a vegetarian, that would look fantastic, which it does for me. And I was really interested to see all the great variety there, Michelle. That's I don't know if that's inside your store there, but lovely potjie pot and some boerewors going on there, and amazing cakes as well. So how this works for everybody in the UK, we have a countdown. It's a very short, punchy slot. We have a countdown of 5 seconds, and Michelle only has 60 seconds to tell us about her business. So on the count of 60, over to you, Michelle.
Hi, Lamont, thank you. So I started Ebdon Eats from home in May 2025, so it's a very young little business of mine. It's a business that I started from home and still doing from home, and just to bring my love of food and my heritage to everyone else. to be honest, I was struggling to find good boerewors, and I decided to make it myself. So you can find everything from vetkoekermins, skilpaadjies, boerewors, molfa, koeksisters, cheese grillers, roaster cook, and then I package it all up neatly and I send it out to you at home. So far, we've sent out nearly 200 parcels, and my products are available in 7 South African shops. All products are still handmade by me in my home kitchen with quality local ingredients. Wow, I made it.
You were very fast. Excellent, Michelle. Thank you. Do you deliver throughout the whole of the UK?
Yeah, I deliver throughout the UK because I was very brave and started my business with delivery throughout the UK. And yeah, it's going
Excellent.
really well.
And then nothing across the pond to Ireland, I suppose.
I've sent to Northern Ireland, but not
Okay.
Ireland.
All right. Excellent. Well, when I'm in the UK, they will have to try your treats.
Thank
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us, Michelle.
No
And
worries.
thank you for sponsoring one of our prizes as well tonight. We really appreciate that. So I'll be very quick with the next financial well-being topic. It's a really important topic. It's about wills, and it's called Where There's No Will, There's No Way. Why a will matters a lot in South Africa and in the UK. So just for context, for my sins, one of my jobs was a solicitor many years ago, and I drafted a few wills myself. So I thought I'll just talk to you about this. But just again, the same slide, very high level overview. We'll start top left with the green block. We'll just work our way around very quickly. Where does the topic come from? Where there's no will, there's no way to do what? You might ask, well, to know what the deceased's wishes were. Unless you've written it down, you don't know. And that's really the essence of a will. And there are a lot of legalities around what makes a valid will. So you could have a will, but it's not a valid will for some rhyme or reason, or you might not have a will. And if either of those two happen, you actually, when you pass away, you would have heard the word intestate. You then die intestate, and there are a whole lot of different rules. And you don't really want to die intestate because you might not have your wishes executed in terms of the way. Some of the rules are around witnesses and who can witness and their age and do they have to be together and the order of signing. They've got to be of sound mind. um, can it be handwritten? Yes, it can be. You can't have a verbal will, really. Generally, there are a lot of rules all around these things all over the world. Countries can vary significantly. In fact, to share with you, even in the UK, so I've got Scotland at the bottom there. Scotland seems to be the outcast in terms of the wills legislation in the UK, in terms of the research that I did. Sometimes the rules are a little bit different for Scotland and very similar for Northern Ireland, Wales, and England. But Scotland, for instance, with witnesses, you can actually have one witness, and that makes it a valid will. Um, all right, in the blue block at the top there, the blue circle, I keep saying block, there are quite a few complexities, and these are important. Just spend a bit of time here. Life changes and things change, and your assets change, and relationships change, and very often people neglect to actually update their will if they have a will to start with. So really important to keep your will updated as things change. I had an example the other day, somebody that I've been helping, and they had the person's father passed away, and there was an asset in the will that was mentioned specifically. It's called a bequest. Okay, it was bequeathed to a certain person. Now the asset doesn't exist anymore, so that's no longer valid. You can't give something away if you don't have it. And the problem with that will, there was nothing further said around who gets the residue of the estate other than that asset. So there's no more will actually to give effect to, and that person's dying intestate. So really important. Dependents, second marriages, a lot of rules around that in different countries as well. The impacts of that, changes you need to make in wills. Not revoking previous wills. If you change your will, is it very clear that this is the last will and testament, or does something else still apply? And then where's the original? It's a little bit like the lotto. Generally, the original is really important. There are some provisions, I think, in South Africa where if you can deduce the intention of the testator. But as a general rule, really a good idea to know where the original is, all right, so that it can be produced. So tell somebody where the original is. quite a lot of differences with executors on the right-hand side there. How many you can have? Can they inherit? Are they entitled to fees just automatically, or do they have to be professionals? Can family members get fees if they're executors? A lot of changes around that. Very important one in the purple block or the dark blue block bottom right. In South Africa, if you have a will in South Africa, and the executors are in South Africa, at least one of the executors has to be South African based or otherwise appointed as an agent. Very important. So if you move overseas and you've got an executor who also is no longer overseas, as an example, you've got to bear all of these things in mind. Like I said, there are a few moving parts that you've just got to. Wills aren't as easy as they're made out to be, because there are a lot of self-made, self-help wills. Couple of key differences. I was quite surprised here in Scotland you can be 12 and make a will. Generally it's much older. South Africa it's 16, 18 in the rest of the UK. Estate duty, the taxes when you die, varies a lot by country, and this is the part that, especially with the bigger estates, you need to be quite wary of. What's the exemption, what amount is exempt, above what amount do you pay what. Very different between South Africa and the rest of the UK. What is similar is that the estate pays the estate duty in South Africa, and in the UK that also comes out of the estate, and then the inheritance is after that. But the amounts vary quite a lot. So you can see there in the UK, it's called inheritance tax, IHT, and 40% above a certain threshold. And if there's a house that goes to children or grandchildren, that actually goes up to £500,000. All these rules need to be considered when you are deciding who gets what as well, in terms of size of assets. All right, so very important. I'm just giving a few examples. And then just on the far left there, one estate, two countries, three headaches, unless wills are well coordinated. In fact, the reason Howzit Expats and Howzit United Kingdom is getting involved and sharing some aspects around wills is because sometimes somebody might need two wills and not just one will. They might have a will in South Africa and they may very well need another will in the UK or in Ireland or somewhere else. Depends on what they have, what their assets are, where the executors are, all sorts of things. So in fact, what we've done is we've created a Howzit Expats will preparation form. So you're very welcome to send an email to howzit@howzitunitedkingdom.co.uk if you'd like to just fill this form in. It takes about 69 minutes, and the results come through to us, and we can actually help you just look at that and see what you should be doing, who you should be talking to. So we have relationships with attorneys in South Africa and with solicitors in countries around the world to help you with wills. All right, so if you don't have a will, get a will. If you're not sure if it's updated or legal, find out, do this form. If you're not sure whether you need another will, fill in the form. All right, so that was very quick, little whistle-stop tour around the subject of wills. So on to our second anchor topic, rerouting. This session is called, we have Colleen Quist all the way from South Africa, and Colleen is a life coach, and I'll hand over to you, Colleen.
Thanks so much, Lamont. Hello to everybody, or should I say, how's it? I'm currently in Hermanus at the moment on holiday, so the whales also hello. The rest of the time I live in Gauteng. Something I see a lot, and what I wanted to mention today is that wherever you are on your journey, whether you are thinking about leaving, whether you've left, or maybe you're even thinking about going back to South Africa, it's very important to understand that your journey is unique. Your lived experience is not the same as anybody else's. But what I see a lot of people do, it's almost like they've got to do the or. So it's South Africa or Ireland, South Africa or the UK, South Africa or Australia. And I see so many people having to think like, okay, we've got to choose. We can't sing the South African national anthem and sing the new country's anthem. So like choose. We can't wear a scarf from both sides. We can't like both food. And so that's why when I was chatting to Lamont, why I called this little podcast section Rerooting, because what I'm seeing people do is like dig up their roots, their South African roots, and think, okay, we can't take them with. We can't leave them here. So what are we going to do with them? We need to throw them away. We need to pretend that they're not there. And it's almost like, no, don't have any of those roots. They've all gone. In an attempt to like embrace the new country, And what I really would like to suggest is that you reroute, you put new routes down, because we can do South African routes and other countries' routes. We can love more than one country, the same as we can love more than one child. It really is possible. And so instead of being torn between, okay, we got to give up milk tart, or we've got to be, all those kind of things. What you find is that people either run down South Africa, or they say South Africa was amazing. And South Africa is not all terrible, but it's also not all wonderful either. That whole Disney version of, oh, the most amazing whatever. So it's just an opportunity to mindfully embrace and give up the all, this or that. It's not chicken or beef. We can do both of them. So, yes, also to remember that you are loved, you matter, and you're not alone. And, instead of also doing this journey on your own, reach out. That's why Lamont has brought me into Howzit Expats. It helps to be able to speak to a professional. It helps to be able to share somebody with somebody who isn't involved, who isn't part of your journey. Because there's nothing worse than when you're in a specific part of your journey and you're trying to share with your family or your children, and they're going like, oh, come on now, we're doing this. Yes, there are days you're going to cry, there are days you're going to laugh, and please reach out. It's quite easy to find me, especially if you look my name up, because it's spelled with 2 L's and 2 E's, like an Irish Colleen. And of course, my surname is Scandinavian, it's Danish, it's Qvist. So with that, I'll hand back to you, Lamont.
Excellent, Colleen. Thank you very much. Very interesting input as usual. Thank you. Really important session, the rerouting session, especially when you start reading Facebook groups. That's what we're trying to get people to, listen to the likes of Colleen, to think about these things and get these insights. Fantastic. All right, so moving on then, we have our second 60-second slot, business called New Hope Travel. Let's just go back one there. And just to introduce you to Jenny Whiteside, who says, yeah, savor the pinnacle of luxury travel, experience a new epoch of opulence, redefining indulgence and excess, ascend to unparalleled heights where every desire is anticipated and surpassed. Fantastic. We look forward to your 60-second slot. Couple of pictures here, amazing tours and all sorts of things around the world that you can get on her website. So it looks, there's Cape Town in the middle as well. Fantastic. So countdown, and then we will hear from, there you go.
Hi, thanks so much for inviting me. Much appreciated. So yeah, I've been in the UK now for 18 years. I started New Hope Travel almost 7 years ago now. And it was at a time where actually I was looking for something more than just existing. And this was my passion, was travel. So it just ticked all the boxes. I'm independent, so I get to work with about 90 odd suppliers. And so it's taken me all over the world, but it's done more than that for me. It's built a community. It's made me want to share a lot with other people. And locally, if I'm going to give any tips about being in the UK, it's very much what a lot of you have already said, is get stuck into the community, into the British culture, learn about them, go and find out the heritage sites, go and have a look at them. It doesn't cost much, especially when you're first coming into the country, and just experience actual Britain on its own, because that will help your transition a whole lot better. So yeah, that's me. New Hope Travel.
Excellent. Jenny, you made it in the 60 seconds. Fantastic. Thank you for coming along and telling us about your business, and we will certainly be sharing it on our platforms as well. So thanks for taking part today.
No problem.
Okay, so we're on to our last session. So we have a name there, a gentleman from Ireland. I've kept his name there. His name's Garvin Rush. He's actually the CEO of a tour guide company in Dublin. He does our Ubuntu sessions in Ireland. I thought I'll just give him a little bit of profiling on the UK show as well. I know a lot of people move from and go on holidays across the pond into Ireland. Really fantastic product he has there. And also to say that we haven't yet sewn up our speaker for this slot in the UK. We thought we had a person, and then we didn't have one just a few days ago. So I thought what I'd do, I'll just quickly tell you a little quick story of myself. Now, I'm missing two pictures there for some reason, and I can't get them back. And that's a pity because one was quite a key picture. Um, but I'll just tell you a quick story about myself. My mother's actually born in England. So I am, a part of me is British as well. And I remember my first trip to the UK when I was 11. We went overseas and we went on all these amazing, changing of the guard at Buckingham Palace, seeing the red buses for the first time and the red telephone booths and seeing Big Ben and not being on a tube before. So if somebody says to me, what's the UK like? How does it compare to South Africa? Well, the Cornish pasties are better. And the picture you can't see on the left there, I don't know where it's gone, but I grew up in Port Elizabeth in South Africa, and that's where the 1820 settlers arrived, almost 4,000 of them. And I had a picture here, and when you see the edited version, it'll be back in there, but of the boat called the Chapman, which was the first boat that the 1820 settlers arrived on. There were about 4,000 of them. So a lot of connections personally to the UK. And although we all speak the same language, is a very, very different country. A lot older, all these traditions and great food and the way things are done, which made a real impact on me. And I'm so sorry you can't see the top left picture just to end off, because when my boys, I have two sons, went to the UK for the first time, we went to the Cutty Sark and we had lunch at a pub just next door, and we wanted some dessert afterwards. And whatever dessert we ordered, they came back and said we didn't have that anymore. There's none left. It was a cold day, and I think we wanted something warm. And the lady said, all they have left is spotted dick. And my kids, almost fell off the chairs laughing because they'd never heard of this dessert before. And I went to show them what it looks like, and I had a picture of that. So cultural differences, different things, different food, and hopefully in our next session we'll have somebody from Britain who can talk to us and share what's unique about the UK culture and what South Africans need to take note of. So that brings us to the end of our agenda. Just a couple of things to end off with. There's a Howzit quarterly newsletter coming out the end of quarter 3, as I said earlier on. It's very easy to sign up if you'd like to become a member of the UK community. We've just started. Tonight is the first interaction, really. You're very welcome to go online. It's €9.90 a month or 99 a year, and that covers you for everything that we're going to be doing. And there are going to be quite a lot of webinars, other than monthly webinars, coming out across a range of topics: culture, well-being, and business, in fact. So you can look forward to those. And then all that's left is actually to do our draw. So I need to just stop sharing for 1 second. Just to remind you what the prizes are again there, the mystery prizes. If you win a mystery prize, you can choose any one of those. Okay, so let's do the draw. So I'll start off so how it works. We actually spin the wheel twice. And the first spin is just to see who is going to be a winner. And the second spin is to see what prize that person wins. So here we go. Okay, number 4 is Jenny Whiteside tonight. Jenny, you are in the running for a prize. Let's see what you are going to win. There are 8 prizes. I will spin the wheel again, and let's hold thumbs. Excellent. Prize number 7, which is a 50% off a silver advertising package, and it includes a membership, Jenny. If you're interested in that, well done. Thanks for taking part. All right, so just to end off, just to say the ostriches are going on tour. We hope to be launching Howzit Australia in the next 2 weeks. You can look out for that. If you have friends in Australia, you can let them know. That'll be fantastic. And then we're not going to do it this time because it was a longer session. But next time we will play one of our money movies, which is all around kids' education, starting young, using very simple 60 to 90 second videos on topics such as what is a budget, planning and saving. All right, so Howzit Expats is very focused on kids education. You'll see quite a bit more about that. If you enjoyed the video, the webinar rather, please share with your friends. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram and LinkedIn. In fact, we've been very busy on our Facebook site. We have just over 600 members there now. We have a very nice competition right at this minute. You can win this very nice book, 101 Iconic Dishes from Ilse van der Merwe, Timeless South African Recipes. And all you got to do is spin the wheel on the Facebook site. You've got to join the Facebook site to do that. So big thank you from my side. That's the end of our first webinar. Thank you to all our speakers and our 60-second participants. Our next webinar is on the 17th of September. And I hope to see you all. Thank you very much. Good night.